Hello and welcome to another episode of Starside Chat, where we talk about video game stuff, but also movie stuff sometimes. My name is Aaron. With me as always is Zach. How's it going, Zach?
Good. I'm glad to be here. We are making a go of it in 2021.
It's true. We're getting on a little bit more of a regular schedule, bi-monthly perhaps. But a lot of video game stuff has happened since we last talked.
A semi-E3 feel to this last week between...
A little bit.
Nintendo Direct and like BlizzCon. There's kind of been a lot going on.
It's true, and I didn't even know BlizzCon was going on. But there is some stuff I want to talk about with that. Should we just jump into it?
Yeah, we should.
What's your history with Mortal Kombat, Zach?
I don't have a lot with it. I didn't play it growing up. It would have been one of those games that was probably too violent for me to be allowed to play as a child. But like I've played, I think it was 11. I played briefly, but I'm not huge on fighting games. What about you?
I played it as a kid. I had a Sega, and so I had like Mortal Kombat 3, and I would play around with that. And then the mall that I used to go to got whichever one was the one that I think you had weapons in as an arcade cabinet in the arcade, and I used to play that all the time. I loved it back in the day, actually. I had a Mortal Kombat themed birthday party one time where we watched the movie. Have you ever watched the original movie?
Bits and pieces of it, but it's been a long time. I just know that one's one of those like really campy ones.
Yeah. I think it kind of holds up. It is not a great movie, but the like 90s effects of it all, I think are maybe just nostalgic for me. And they made a sequel, Mortal Kombat Annihilation, which is very bad. But also I think equally fun to watch. But the reason we're talking about this is they just released the trailer for the Mortal Kombat 2021 reboot. What did you think, Zach?
I thought it actually looked really cool. You always wonder if they're going to do like a video game movie right. And this one seems to be like really trying to replicate what you see in the games.
I agree. It seems like I read like a quote from the director saying, we are going to have a bunch of on-screen fatalities, which seems
makes me
crazy.
Wonder how that's going to work, because supposedly, like, they're not going to die and then come back again the way they would in the game, right?
No, but I assume there's just like one. It's probably going to be just random henchmen that are getting destroyed, but also, I mean, at this point, the roster is so giant. There's been sort of a resurgence with Mortal Kombat recently with the newest games that have had pretty in-depth story missions, or story campaigns, I should say.
Yeah.
So I don't even know about, like, I don't know who Kotal Khan is, but I mean, there's, even with like Mortal Kombat 3, there were a ton of characters. So, I mean, there's going to be a lot of people that can die. I feel like it's going to be the main character, Cole Young, is not a person from Mortal Kombat, I don't think. Not that he's going to die, but I'm just like, they're inventing people.
I mean, could they almost do like an Avengers Infinity Saga with this type of a thing just because of the amount of characters that there are?
Wouldn't that be crazy? I think that would be very cool. It's hard to get a cinematic universe off the ground because you have to basically people have to invest like in a 10-year project, basically. Yeah. But
well, and also I'm not sure. Like, Mortal Kombat's cool, but is it on the same level as something like the Marvel comics? I kind of doubt it. But
I don't think so. I mean, it definitely has brand recognition, but probably not as much.
Yeah, I mean, it's beloved among the people that are like into it, but like as far as having that broad appeal that maybe the Marvel comics have. But then again, like, I feel like there's a ton of Marvel Cinematic Universe fans that have never read a comic book. So
true. Have you? So, are you watching WandaVision?
No, I'm not subbed to Disney Plus.
Are you subbed to HBO Max, which is where Mortal Kombat the movie this time is going to come out, day and date with theaters?
I'm mooching off of family, so yeah, I could watch that.
I think I'm going to, because I also have HBO Max, and there's not really a reason not to watch it.
Yeah, that's true. Well, and I know like that Kong vs. Godzilla movie is also going to come out on HBO. Like, they have like a whole bunch of
Dune is going to come out on HBO.
Which one?
Dune.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that. I'm super excited for that one.
Which is insane to me.
Yeah. The old movie does not hold up all that well, but But I'm very much looking forward to the new one. I'm a big fan of the director of that movie that I can never quite say his name right.
Yeah, I always get it wrong too. But it seems super cool. I am excited for that. I don't have to go to a movie theater to watch it, which is great.
Yeah, that is a plus.
Relax.
For sure.
Zach, you've been playing some Little Nightmares.
I have been, and I just wanted to mention this. We'll probably talk a little bit more about Little Nightmares 2 later in the podcast, but there was a story that happened within the last couple of days where the developer basically confirmed that Little Nightmares 2 is the last game that they are going to make in the series.
Really?
But that the owner of the series, Bandai Namco, could possibly continue it. They didn't rule out that they would make more games. So basically, I forget the name of the developer. I might have to click on this just to... Embracer, that's right. They made Little Nightmares 1 while they were under Bandai Namco, and then they got sold to Tarsier, which I'm not sure if I'm saying that one right either. I can't pronounce anything right, but so they made made Little Nightmares 2, and it's technically that IP is owned by Bandai Namco. So if they wanted to continue making games in that series, Tarsier would have to license the property, or buy it from them. And they probably don't want to do that because it would probably be pretty costly. So it seems like this is the last that Embracer is going to make for that series.
I downloaded the first Little Nightmares because the second one looked very cool, and you spoke highly of it. And so I got the first one on Switch, which was maybe a bad move because I don't know how optimized it was for the Switch port. It definitely feels a little floaty, and I have noticed some stutter.
Really?
Yeah, I kind of wish, but it was only like $6. It was like 75% off on Switch, so I was like, why not buy it?
Yeah, that's cool.
So I probably will play more of it. Maybe it was just that maybe there was just like a really, like the first part is a little bit like graphics intensive, so maybe like there was a set piece moment, so
okay.
maybe if I get out of that and I get into the smaller places, because I love Inside, and I love the other one.
Limbo.
Yeah. I love both of those games, and so I like a nice little bite-sized puzzle side-scroller like this. So I don't know. I guess we'll talk more about it when we get to what we've been playing and watching. But I'm interested to hear how far you've gotten and what you think of it.
Yeah, and I was going to ask you about your experience with Little Nightmares 1, but we can maybe save that when we get to the full discussion. But next week, I don't know if I can interest you in this, but Outriders is going to have a demo. Weirdly, not on any other PC platforms other than Steam, which I guess is fine because most people use Steam, but also not on, the demo won't be on Stadia either, even though the full release. No, April 1st is when it's officially coming out. But they're releasing a demo. I think it was originally supposed to come out in February, and then they pushed it back, but they were like, but we'll have like a demo. And so recently the developer of it released some like details as to what's going to be in the demo. And it seems like it's going to be fairly meaty. A good amount of stuff's going to be in there. So that's cool. I'm looking forward to it. And I have to imagine it's free and doesn't require like a pre-order, or maybe it does. No, it does not require. I'm just reading the article now. So that's cool. I mean, might as well test it out and see what you think.
Yeah, this kind of fell off the radar for me because I feel like it was being like hyped up months and months ago. And then I have not heard anything about it.
Yeah, they actually did a pretty good job of like pre-release. Like if you go to their YouTube channel and all that, they've been releasing like quite a few videos just sort of talking about the different classes and some of the gameplay. There was I wanted to watch some of the footage just to remind myself, or just to get a glimpse of some of the classes and whatnot, and I was surprised how much they had put out. It's actually pretty cool. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I hope it's good. They keep saying it is not a game as service, so you're not supposed to think of it like a Destiny. It's supposed to be more like a 40 plus hour RPG basically.
Interesting. From the outside looking in, it looks like a Destiny.
Yeah, that's what I thought too. I think a lot of that is like the armor and like just some of the character models look very Destiny inspired in terms of like the art style. But it reminds me a lot of Mass Effect 3 multiplayer, just looking at sort of the powers based, third person cover based shooter. And so that really appeals to me. But the fact that it's like supposed to be a story-driven RPG that is not game as service. So no microtransactions. It's not supposed to be one of those games that once you finish the story that you're playing for raids and stuff like that. So I don't know if they have extra content that's supposed to be considered part of the end game or what their plans are in terms of support beyond release, but so far it seems like the kind of game that you can just pick up and play and you don't have to worry about all that extra nonsense. So
Interesting.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it a shot for sure. I may try to do a video. I think the demo launch is Thursday next week, so definitely worth giving a shot if you're interested at all in that style of a game.
I don't know. I would be interested to see. I would be interested to watch a little bit of coverage of it before I download it.
Also, next month, Microsoft is supposedly holding an event about Bethesda.
What do you think this is? I actually don't know about this. They recently have purchased Bethesda. What could this be?
Yeah, so I mean, everybody is sort of speculating that this will have to do with like whether their games will be exclusive or not, just because they've sort of had to put off doing some sort of conference to talk about the Bethesda acquisition just because that the purchase didn't actually go through yet. So like we've known about it for a long time, but it hasn't officially happened yet. So yeah, I think they're just going to talk about exclusivity, maybe what the plan is for some of the games Bethesda has coming up. And I don't know, I'm just excited to hear more about what Bethesda has in the works.
I would love to see something about Starfield, I have to say. We've only ever gotten like one pre-rendered, like, I wouldn't even call it a trailer. It was like a very far away shot of a spaceship. So that would be great to see.
Yeah, and even if it is just like they don't really explain too much in terms of like whether they're gonna make franchises exclusive or not, even if they just have some like, here's some concrete details about Starfield, that'll be really exciting.
Did you see they announced that the people, Bungie, the people who make Destiny, are interested in expanding Destiny beyond games into movies and television?
I did not hear that.
Yeah, that's like their new initiative, and I think it just got announced like this week, where they were saying like, I mean, there were a lot of articles that were like, could this mean there's going to be a Destiny TV show? But I don't know. I think it's very early stages, but it was just like announced this week. But would you watch a Destiny TV show?
I might. I mean, hopefully they would be much better at storytelling in that TV show than they've been in the games. Which
I have always said that the story of Destiny is perhaps the worst part of it.
Yeah, it's been my opinion that I stuck with Destiny for a long time because of the gameplay and not because the story had grabbed me and sucked me in. So I don't know. Would you watch it?
I don't know. It would depend on one, like,
availability.
Yeah. If it was on well, I say that, but like if it was on like Fox, no way. If it was on like network television, that would probably be terrible. But if it was on like HBO or Netflix, I might take a look at that. And if they got like, I mean, they could have people reprise their roles. I mean, Nathan Fillion could be Cade Six, and Lance Reddick could be Zavala.
Well, I guess that's the question. Are they just like retelling what's already been told, or are they doing like side stories in that universe, or like?
I have no idea. I think it's super early stages.
Yeah. Do you remember that show? What was that show that was on Sci-Fi that also had like its own little like MMO on consoles?
Yeah, that crashed and burned hard.
It did. I played the MMO briefly on Xbox 360, and it was not very good. But yeah, I wonder if they do something like that where they try to like tie the story from the show into the game and like
that would be crazy.
Yeah, revelation
There was
scene in the
also-
show impact the game and stuff like that. I don't know.
Wasn't there also wasn't there like the guys that made Quantic Dream? Didn't they have like a show / game or movie that they tried to do with like a psychic person? I'm misremembering this, but
Yeah, that sounds familiar. Where I was like cutscenes in the game, just like part of the TV show.
I think so, or something like that.
Yeah.
We would be remiss as a gaming podcast if we did not talk about Valheim.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I was going to ask you about your opinion on it because it seems more up your alley than it does mine.
I haven't downloaded it yet, but I'm going to. I just haven't found the time. It's only $20. It is only a gig.
Really?
Large.
Wow.
Yes, isn't that insane?
That is insane.
It is made by a developer that I very much enjoy, Coffee Stain Studios, I think. They made that Satisfactory game that I love.
Oh, really?
It looks great. It was crazy because, like, I was at work, and a guy I work with plays games, and he was like, "You hear about this Valheim game?" And I was like, "No, what is it?" And he's like, "Oh, it's so good. You got to check it out." And then I went home, and like 3 of the people I follow on Twitch were all playing it.
Yeah.
And then I started to see these articles about it, and then it just blew up. It came out of nowhere, and it sold like 3 million copies or something already on Steam. It's like a 5-person team.
Yeah.
It looks cool. I am excited to actually dig into it. I just have not found the time for a reason I'll get to a little bit later.
It's early access, isn't it? So it's
early access, but it's a Viking game. It's like a survival game.
Yeah.
And it's just like the interesting twist I think on this one is that it's a lot more PvE focused than a lot of survival games. Like Rust is basically just like you and other players running around. And this is more like you have to gear up for like events that happen in the world, and like crazy stuff can happen. Like I was just watching a guy on Twitch, and he had built a boat, and he was going around, and he found an island, and there was like a deer on the island, and he was hunting it, and then he realized the island was a giant monster, and so he had to figure that out.
That's
it
crazy.
seems very, very cool, and I like the art style a lot. It's something I want to dive into. I have not found the time.
Yeah, I was gonna say like survival games in which there's like some sort of building aspect, and I don't know. That seems like definitely something you're up your alley. So I was like, maybe you've actually played this, but
I will by the next time we record, I will have played it, and I will give a report on it.
I've also heard from people that are like, that's not normally my type of game, but they're like playing it and loving it anyway. So I don't know.
I think it's great to play with friends, but I think it's also great to play solo, which is something hard to do with a survival type game.
Yeah.
But because usually the fun is like palling around with your friends and building stuff.
And surviving against other players.
Yeah, but I think it's something to watch. I think it's the hot thing right now.
It's definitely the viral sensation of the gaming world for the first half of the year. That's for sure.
Let's talk about something that was not a sensation.
Okay.
The Nintendo Direct. The first Nintendo Direct since September of 2019. They went over 2 years? Is that right? Or am I wrong? No, it went over a year.
Yeah.
No Directs in 2020.
Yeah, and there were a lot of people that thought maybe they would also not do Directs this year. And then like when they announced that they were finally going to do one, everybody got super hyped. And I think maybe that sort of is partially responsible for the response to this one being fairly, I don't want to say negative, but like subpar maybe.
Well, the speculation was, last year was the 35th anniversary of Mario, and we had a ton of Mario stuff. We had that Mario Battle Royale. We had the 3-pack of classic Mario games. There was a ton of Mario stuff. We got the Super Mario 3D World and Bowser's Fury, which came out. Like, a lot of things were about Mario last year. And this is the year that it's Zelda's 35th anniversary, and we have not heard anything about the Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild sequel, except that it is in development, and we got that one trailer.
And they brought out that guy, and he was like, we're not going to share anything now.
I bet you're wondering why I'm here. Well, guess what? I'm not talking about Zelda. Kind of.
Well,
but yeah.
I've also heard like somebody, I think, put it into perspective nicely, and they were like, well, on the other hand, like what would the response have been if they had been like, okay, Zelda time, and then they're like, here's Skyward Sword, and nothing on Breath of the Wild. So they almost had to bring him out and be like, I know you guys want to hear about Breath of the Wild 2, but we don't have anything to share at this time.
Have you ever like been interested in Skyward Sword? I heard it was the worst Zelda game.
So that's what everybody says. I didn't play it because I didn't own a Wii, but
nor did I.
It's weird. If you look at Metacritic and you look at any of the reviews, like critic reviews from the game, it seems to be like pretty positive all around. Like it's got a high score, but every time I hear anyone talk about it, it's like very clearly the worst Zelda game, and everybody's pretty down on it. So the fact that they announced this one, like you knew there was going to be a little bit of like disappointment to go along with it.
I don't love the art style of it. It looks a lot like Twilight Princess to me, another Zelda game that I did not super love the art style for.
Yeah.
Where it's just like they're trying to be a little bit too real, it seems like. Maybe not too real, maybe that's the wrong way to say it, but it just looks like too cumbersome, like too busy maybe. The art style is too busy. I like the simplicity of like the N64 ones or Wind Waker or Breath of the Wild, which is like timeless, basically.
They kind of had their own little art style to them that I think worked better than whatever they did with Skyward Sword. But also, I think everyone expected like, you know, the 3-pack of Mario remasters that came out on Switch last year with the anniversary of Mario. I think everybody was expecting Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask and Wind Waker, and it didn't happen, and they got this one. And he tried to sort of soften the blow by being like, almost knowing that people would not be super excited about this one. He's like, okay, but let me sell you on it with the fact that there was like some of the elements of this game went into Breath of the Wild where you can like paraglide down and you can like, he's got an energy meter when he climbs or whatever. It's just like some of these things went into Breath of the Wild. So it's almost like you're playing a prequel, but I don't know. Maybe. I mean, I haven't played this one, and it is Zelda, so I might give it a shot. But
the sword mechanics look overly complicated to me.
This is a weird thing that Nintendo does, where they have like a different control scheme depending on which way you're playing it, whether you're playing it in portable or in docked mode. They kind of have like, they did this with Pokemon Let's Go, like the throwing the ball to catch a Pokemon was different depending on which way you were holding your Switch or which way you were playing it. And there was no way to like swap between the two. Like if you wanted to play in docked mode, but you didn't want to have to like use the motion controls with the Joy-Con, you didn't have a choice. You had to. And so I'm kind of wondering if that's going to be the case here, where if you don't want to use the motion controls for the sword, you want to use the like thumbstick ones. You may not have the option unless you're playing portable mode.
They did this with Mario Odyssey a little bit too, where like every time you boot that game up, there is an unskippable 10-second still that's just like, hey, try playing this with Joy-Cons. And like whenever you do a new move, and it always shows you like with the Joy-Cons, like, hey, if you want to roll, why not just like, you know, bat the Joy-Cons like a drum?
Yeah.
But to my knowledge, no one played Mario Odyssey like that.
Yeah, and there was like the one where you throw your hat, and if you like twist the controller as you do it, it'll like swing it around him in like a circle.
Yeah, there's basically no way to throw your hat like up and down if you're playing with the controller. There like is a way, but it's like very convoluted and not good. I don't know. They love their motion controls, which is a detriment, I feel.
Yeah. Like supposedly the technology is better now than it was with the Wii, but I still feel like people don't want to play games that way.
No.
So, and I do think it was a big swing and a miss to have not brought games like Wind Waker and Majora's Mask and Ocarina of Time to the Switch.
I would love to play Wind Waker. I've never played it. I would love to check that out.
Well, and I'm pretty sure those games have been brought up to like whatever the last generation was and like Virtual Console, or even like they've been ported to the 3DS. So I don't know that it would take that much more work for them to just like move it to the Switch. Like, some work has already been done on those games, you have to think.
Yeah, they fixed a lot of the stuff that was not great about Wind Waker. Apparently there was like a lot more sailing, and in the like Wii U re-release, they like cut it all down and they made it a much like more streamlined, good game.
Like, I can't imagine it would have taken a whole lot more work to just port the Wii U version up to the Switch. So I don't know why that didn't happen, but maybe they're waiting for later in the year. Would they release two?
There's got to be, at some point, there's got to be a Zelda Direct incoming. Yeah. We just don't know when. I mean, it's the 35th anniversary. They got to do something.
Yeah, well, didn't they miss the exact date, but they're just relying on like the year, I guess, to be like, hey, here you go.
Did you care about that Smash reveal or know at all who it was?
I know of Xenoblade Chronicles in name alone, so no. It was clever the way they did it. It was definitely they get you sucked into this animation, and you're like, "What are they doing? Another Xenoblade?" And then all of a sudden, oh no, it's a Smash reveal, and like they're always very clever with those, but at the same time, I didn't care.
Yeah, I like this. Technically, had all of the hallmarks of a thing that I like, a good presentation that I have. My three things are a thing in the beginning where you don't know what it is, and then it's revealed, rack focus to what it actually is. A lot of trailers for things, and then a one more thing. Unfortunately, all three of those things were stuff I did not care about in this presentation. There was
a lot of ports, a lot of remasters, a lot of stuff that either I've already played or just I wasn't interested in playing in the first place. And like the new stuff was like Mario Golf, which I think is kind of cool, but like I don't know how interested I am in a golf game. I think I got kind of disillusioned a little bit with the Mario sports stuff after Mario Tennis. I thought that game was going to be better than it was, and I kind of was not into it. And then they did that Neon White game seems pretty cool to me.
A lot going on with that game. It's card based. It seems like
it's a first person game that's also like a platformer. That's also anime, that's like a card-based first-person shooter. Like, just putting those words together in one sentence, like, I don't know what that means or how it works. But I'm kind of interested to see what comes of it, like what it ends up being.
Probably the strongest, maybe you'll disagree with this, but I think the strongest thing from the entire presentation was that triangle strategy.
I agree. I think that was the most interesting thing to come out of this Direct.
Which is like a Octopath Traveler, but Final Fantasy Tactics.
Yeah, I was a little confused. Like, it's the same art style as Octopath Traveler, or very, very close to it, but it's not the same universe, or is it the same? I guess I don't really know.
I don't know that, because I never played Octopath Traveler. I had a friend who was very, very into it and like 100%ed it, but
yeah, I had a friend who really liked it as well and was telling me that I should play it, and I was like, I would like to play it, I just don't have time. But there is a free demo for that out that you can play right now. I did download it, but I have not played it yet. I'm not super into the whole like tactics style game, so I'm not sure if this is more up your alley or not.
I do like some classic Final Fantasy Tactics, but I don't know, the world is not super interesting to me.
Do
you care about Splatoon 3?
No, I've not played the previous Splatoon games. I don't know about you, but
no.
I think I played, it must have been a demo or like a multiplayer beta for Splatoon 2. And I remember thinking that was actually pretty fun. Like, the people that are into it, I get it. Like, it's got its own style, its own thing. And I do think it's cool for that. It's just not been something that I've been into.
Yeah. What else was there?
What are we missing? There's got to be something else in here that happened that is worth mentioning, but
I'm glad they did a Direct. I just wish that it had more cool stuff.
And we should say that this is just the first half of the year. So there's like there's got to be another Direct that will happen, and most likely that'll be the Zelda Direct where they come out with all of the cool stuff. We can only hope. Maybe that's when they do the 3-pack of remasters.
I would love that. I would love to replay. It's been so long since I played Ocarina of Time. I briefly had a 3DS before the Switch came out, and I bought Majora's Mask, like the remaster, and playing that was very fun. But Majora's Mask is great, but there is also like the time loop thing that you have to manage, and I think I'm very nostalgic for just like the early hours of Ocarina of Time, and I would love to replay that in HD.
And I would go back and play them because I miss those growing up.
Oh, you never had an N64?
No, I had an N64, but in those days, I didn't have a job, of course, so I did not have a lot of money for buying video games, and so I just whatever people would get me is what I had access to. And so I didn't have a big library of games, but what few ones I did have, I played a ton of.
Yeah, I was the same way.
And the Zelda franchise was just not among them. And so it's, to my great shame, one of the franchises that I've mostly missed out on. Breath of the Wild was my first one.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, I love that game. So I would go back and play some of those classic ones that everybody speaks so highly of, but they gotta release them on Switch.
I imagine it would be a little bit of a shell shock, because this is a game where you don't really have a map and you don't really have objectives. Like, to go back to the classic, like Ocarina of Time, this kind of happened with Majora's Mask, where I had to like take a step back and realize like, oh, I don't just have like an arrow that I'm following. I have to I can't just like press A through all the text. I have to actually engage with this and realize that I need to find these like 5 people in order to unlock a wallet or whatever. But
yeah, I feel like I remember that being a part of the discussion with that the Mario release of like Mario N64 and what was the other one? Sunshine, where they were like, these older ones,
they don't hold your hand.
Yeah, I feel like some people misremember those or sort of look on them with rose-tinted glasses and sort of forget that there have been some iterations done in more recent years that have sort of smoothed out some of the things about these games. But no, I don't know. I mean, it would be interesting to go back and try them, and maybe that would be something we would find out about those classic ones, where like maybe they are rougher than we remember, or people that played them and loved them remember, and maybe they just don't grab the people who don't have that sort of
I don't know,
experience with. So that might be an interesting discussion. But I think Wind Waker would hold up, right?
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, I'm saying that having never played it, but the art style is so beautiful. I watched someone play like the first 5 hours of it one time, and it seems like it would hold up. But
yeah, I had a friend in college that was playing it all the time. They just loved that game, so I would definitely enjoy playing it, I'm sure, but they got to release it. So
let's talk about what we've been playing.
Well, let's first not forget to cover the BlizzCon. I know there was something you said you wanted to say about that.
Yeah, remember that Overwatch 2 is a game that's going to come out eventually?
Yeah.
I forgot that.
It's been a long time since they initially announced that it was happening, and there has been essentially nothing since then.
I watched a little bit, like I think it was IGN's video that was like 55 things we've learned, because I didn't watch the whole press conference because I did not know what was going on. It seems crazy. It seems like every character has a different build you can do, which is weird. And I guess I'm interested in it.
I think that's like, isn't there sort of more focus on like story and cooperative stuff?
Yes.
So those builds, I think, are confined to just that. Like PvP has not changed essentially.
Oh. And that makes it less interesting to me.
Yeah, so I like cooperative stuff, and like I always really enjoy jumping back into Overwatch during events that have like cooperative stuff. So the fact that they are making more of that and making it more interesting is appealing to me, because like I enjoy the PvP, but like I do fall off of that now and then. If they have brought more cooperative stuff and made it so that there's like different builds you can try, like I feel like that's going to keep me playing Overwatch 2 more than just like having a lot more PvP for Overwatch 1, you know what I mean?
I'm interested. I mean, I have fond memories of playing Overwatch when it first came out. Like I did like the public beta of it when it was free, but and then I bought it and played it for a while. But yeah, it seems like everyone has skill trees, which is kind of crazy, almost like an RPG.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, we don't know at all when it's coming out, but I'm interested to see more about it.
Yeah,
and I didn't think I would be.
It's something I've been looking forward to ever since the initial announcement, just because, like I said, I've always liked Overwatch. I just sort of come back to it every once in a while, and I don't play it super hardcore or anything, but like I always enjoy it when I do come back to it. So, and especially the cooperative stuff, if they want to bring some like story elements and some cooperative play, like that is something I'm very much looking forward to. So, and I think it's cool also that they are sort of trying to avoid splitting the fan base by making it so that the PvP stuff is supposed to be sort of cross, I guess, generation, you would call it, between like the first game and Overwatch 2, where you don't necessarily, if all you want to play is PvP and you know you're not going to engage with any of the PvE stuff, like you're good to just hang on to Overwatch 1 and just keep playing it because
that's crazy.
You're not going to necessarily miss out, or maybe there is some like minor new stuff, but like not necessarily worth it to you to like spend the money on. It's sort of up to you, but they're not necessarily leaving you behind if you choose to stick with Overwatch 1.
And then they announced Diablo 4, but are you interested in that?
I don't, kind of. I on occasion I can enjoy that style of game. Like what was those games that are more cartoony that were sort of a Diablo clone?
Torchlight?
Yeah, Torchlight. I played the first two of those games and enjoyed them. So I can enjoy that style of game, but for whatever reason, Diablo is not a series that I've played. I've played the clones, but not the big source of inspiration. I also thought it was cool that they're bringing Diablo 2 back and making it like cross save across all consoles and PC, like even on Nintendo Switch. Like that's pretty cool, actually.
Yeah, that is cool.
So a few little cool things that came from BlizzCon. We're not the biggest like WoW players, so.
No, I mean, probably the most at Blizzard I've ever done is Overwatch, I think.
Same. Like I played a little bit of Hearthstone when it
Hearthstone
came out,
too.
but I'm not huge on like card-based games, so it didn't stick with me for all that long. But I enjoyed it for what it was.
Speaking of enjoying it for what it is, let's talk about Little Nightmares 2.
Okay. Well, so first I wanted to ask you like a little bit more about your experience with Little Nightmares 1, because it's my understanding that Little Nightmares 2 is a prequel to the first game.
Oh,
but many people have recommended playing the first game before playing Little Nightmares 2. And I guess it's hard to judge because I played Little Nightmares 2 and you have played Little Nightmares 1. And so we don't necessarily know what's going on in the other game.
I am not sure. I know that I am eager to play Little Nightmares 2 because I think it looks a lot more polished, or maybe it's just because Little Nightmares 1 came out a while ago, but it looks a lot more beautiful. Little Nightmares 2 does.
I have heard that Little Nightmares 1 is kind of rough when it comes to checkpoints, where so one of the things that is true, quite often happens in Little Nightmares 2 even is that sometimes you have to enter a room and just die to figure out what the thing is that's going to kill you in that room so that you can know to avoid it. And it's my understanding that some of the checkpoints could get real frustrating when something like that happens to you in Little Nightmares 1, and like they haven't given you a
Switch,
checkpoint.
And so like the load times are not probably as great as they could be on PC. So like really, really early on, I dropped into a room. It was very dark in this room. There's a bunch of like black slugs on the ground, and if they touch you, you die. And you can jump on like a bucket to prevent that from happening. But it's very hard to jump on that bucket, and so I just kept missing that and then immediately dying. And then I got past the bucket to a door, but I couldn't figure out how to open the door. And so, and like every time I die, I have to wait like 20 seconds to start over.
Oh man.
And eventually I realized I had to like hold the hold button while I was pressing the door, and that would open it. And it was very frustrating.
Yeah, there is a fair amount of that even in Little Nightmares 2 in terms of like when I first started, like the very first section of Little Nightmares 2, I could not figure out how to jump up over this like little ledge thing. I was like, I can jump almost close enough to get him to grab and go over it, but for whatever reason, my character's not doing it. And so I thought, well, maybe I have to interact with something else. And there was like this thing hanging down. And I thought, well, maybe I can jump up and grab it. And I could jump up and grab the thing that was hanging down and sort of hang from it. And I was like, well, maybe I swing myself over there, but I couldn't get him to do it. And so I must have spent like 10 minutes, like just sort of experimenting with stuff, trying to see what I was missing. And it turned out the only thing I was missing was you just have to hold the button when you jump over to the ledge. It was just like, it was something so simple, but the game...
it doesn't hold your, like, it doesn't tell you. Like, there should be a tutorial, like the first couple things you do, like, hey, when you jump onto a ledge, do this, but... they don't do that. So you just sort of have to trial and error.
Yeah, exactly. There's no HUD, there's no hint system. So a lot of that, you just kind of feel stupid after a while. You're like, oh, okay, I just had to hold this button, and I spent all this time trying to like thinking, oh, that's not the solution because I couldn't get him to do it immediately. But thankfully, Little Nightmares 2 is significantly better in terms of like the load times and the checkpoints. So when you do die, you don't lose much progress, and it's much, much quicker to get you back into the action. So I would say if Little Nightmares 1 is sort of frustrating you with that, know that that is not an issue with Little Nightmares 2. I found it very forgiving, actually. So I did sort of, one of the things that was a little frustrating was not just the fact that the game will just sort of randomly surprise you with like you stepped in a trap that you didn't know was there, then you had no way of knowing it was going to be there. That'll happen and you'll die, but also like occasionally pretty much every section will eventually become a chase scene. Yeah. And you don't initially know that you're entering a chase scene. But the only way to survive the chase scene is to have been running the entire time from like the moment it starts. And so I pretty much would die there every time. Every time we get to the chase scene, I'm like, oh, I didn't start running fast enough. So you almost get out and then you don't. And so you have to do it again. So like some of that can be a little bit frustrating because it also sort of ruins the suspense of the moment. Where you're like, this chase scene, if I had just made it, would have been really exciting. But now I have to like play it again. So now it's become frustrating instead of suspenseful.
I mean, Inside is like a better version of this because I think I died one time playing Inside because it did a really good job of teaching you like, well, this is what's happening and these are things you need to watch out for. And so I felt like I was stressed out and scared, but I was prepared for the things that were occurring because they narratively told you like these are the things that need to occur, and they gave you some low stakes like practice attempts basically before they made you do stuff. Yeah,
I can see that. I think I agree on that. The one thing is I think Little Nightmares 2 might be better in terms of like character.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think I was way more endeared to the main characters of Little Nightmares 2 than I was the main character of Inside.
Yeah, he has a little bit of a blank slate. You're not really sure what's going on in his head.
And I don't know if it's a spoiler to say, but so you play as Mono, this character in Little Nightmares 2, and you eventually, like in the very first section, you basically free Six, who is the main character of Little Nightmares 1, from captivity, and you basically work together throughout much of the rest of the game. And so like one thing that you can do is like if there's a door handle that's too high to reach, like Six will automatically walk over to it and like boost you up. But sometimes I ran into a situation where 6 would just stop moving. And so I was like, I know I need 6 over here. And you can there's a button to call for 6 to come over. But that didn't work. So I had to reload some checkpoints or just find a way to die so that I could start that section over. So that was a bug that happened a couple of times. But otherwise, yeah, the cooperative stuff, it seems almost like they could have built that out and really turned this into a 2-player cooperative experience. But to my knowledge, there's not cooperative play.
Yeah, I couldn't tell from the trailers if it was cooperative or not, and then I realized it wasn't. But yeah, it seems like a weird... I mean, I guess there's probably narrative things where 6 does things that another person wouldn't know to do, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely that. But also there are just sections where you're off by yourself. And so it would be weird to just sort of, well, my cooperative partner just has to watch at this part. You don't get to play right now. But yeah, I don't know. I really liked it. It gets really weird and wild and crazy towards the end. But I thought the puzzles were pretty clever, and I liked the weird sort of grungy Tim Burton art style of it.
Yeah.
And the sound design is so good. There's one part, I think the second chapter is you're at a school and you're sneaking around, and there's this teacher that will basically come kill you if she spots you. And she will turn around and start writing on the chalkboard. And every time she'll hit the chalkboard with her piece of chalk, putting a period at the end of a sentence, and that's when you know, okay, she's about to turn around. And so you find cover. And so there's some clever stuff that they do with sound in that way as sort of a guide without necessarily telling you. So it's also really effective at sort of world building and sort of building atmosphere with just set design and little moments like that without any dialogue. And I think that's sort of not easy to pull off. And I think they did it with this game. So I really liked it. I did finish it, I guess I should say. I did actually finish it.
Does it end with you going into some sort of underwater facility?
No.
Interesting. That's how the second one starts. You're in an underwater facility.
Interesting. I'm curious if I should actually go back and play through the first game now.
I don't know. I haven't beaten it yet, but I plan to. I just need to find some time. I am enjoying it, but I also just it does a little bit feel like a chore, and I'm just doing it so I can get to Little Nightmares 2, you know?
Yeah. Well, and I'll say, I think it's really interesting. It's one of those games where there's so much within the frame, so to speak, in each set piece, that is trying to tell you stuff about the world and the characters and everything that exists in there, that it's the kind of game that you can basically look up a ton of theories about the world and the characters and what's going on there. And I really want to look up a bunch of deep dives into people sort of explaining their theory on what's going on in this game. So it's very, very interesting from that perspective as well.
I want that new game from the Inside developer to come out.
What is it called?
I don't even remember, but I think it might be not a side scroller. I think it might be third person.
Is it? Yeah, I'm interested in if they are coming out with another game. I'm definitely interested because I liked Limbo and Inside quite a bit.
Let's talk a little bit about Super Mario 3D World plus Bowser's Fury.
How far are you?
Zach, I haven't bought it yet.
You haven't bought it? Wow.
Because of something we're going to talk about a little bit, but I am eager to. I just, now is unfortunately not the time that I can play it.
I'm really enjoying it. So there's sort of two separate games. It's weird, at the main menu, you either hit A to go into the port of the Wii U game Super Mario 3D World, or you sort of arrow over to the right to go to the Bowser's Fury mode. And Bowser's Fury is more like an open world. It's almost, people are calling it sort of a proof of concept of what an open world Mario game would be.
Like a Breath of the Wild Mario.
Yeah, sort of like that, but there are like these essentially little islands that have different structures on them that feel very Mario, like very traditional Mario sections. And then you can like jump on whatever the name of that sea creature is. I'm a bad Mario fan because I don't know the name of it, but you take that thing around, and it's there are different things you can do in the water as well, and that's all very fun. And then, of course, big old Bowser will show up and start breathing fire at you, and so you can go, if you've collected enough cat shines, you can grab the bell in the middle, and you become giant Super Saiyan Cat Mario, and you fight him, and it's goofy and strange and very fun. I will say that there's not just the open world aspect of it, but the fact that you can sort of store multiple suits for Mario, like the fire suit and the cat suit and Tanuki Mario's suit and all of them. And you can have multiple ones of them, and then your partner for this is Baby Bowser, and you just have him throw you a new one. And so any situation you get into where you're like, okay, right now having the Fire Mario would really help so I can take out these enemies. Okay, I need to switch to Cat Mario so I can climb up this wall. And just having access to all of those just sort of at a moment's notice when you need them is so handy that I want that in all Mario games from here on out. And it's super disappointing to go into Super Mario 3D World and try to play through those levels and not have that. So I don't know. That's one of those things that is super nice and handy and needs to carry over into whatever the next Mario is.
Yeah, who can say? We didn't get a new one. I was expecting like an Odyssey 2 eventually, but it seems like that's not going to happen, or it hasn't happened yet. But if it is an Odyssey 2, I would assume they're going to keep the same hat stealing mechanic, but I don't know.
Well, a weird thing is, like, some people also sort of speculated that maybe Bowser's Fury was originally supposed to be like a DLC for Super Mario Odyssey. And then they were like, well, let's just tack it on to Super Mario 3D World because we're re-releasing that game anyway, and it's going to feel weird selling that for $60. So let's just tack on Bowser's Fury to it. But the movement mechanics from Super Mario Odyssey are not there, which is kind of disappointing. You don't feel like you have the same interesting movement abilities. You sort of are a little bit more confined to what you have access to in Super Mario 3D World. So like those mechanics carry over into Bowser's Fury, and it does feel like it's missing. Like you can do sort of a lot with the jumping mechanics of Super Mario Odyssey, and so it's a little bit of a bummer for those not to sort of make their way into Bowser's Fury, but I guess it makes sense because you go from playing Super Mario 3D World and you jump into Bowser's Fury and you're like, well, at least everything is consistent.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
I'm going to play it with my girlfriend, the 3D World part of it, because I've heard it's very fun to play with as two people.
Yeah.
And I'm very excited for Bowser's Fury, but I have not dipped my toe in yet.
There is co-op with that as well, where one person can play as Bowser.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, Bowser Jr. and sort of do a little... It's not one-to-one, so it's not like you have two, like Mario and Luigi running around, but there is some sort of a cooperative element to it. But I'm enjoying it. I mean, it's shorter. It's supposed to be... Most people are saying it's roughly like 4 or 5 hours. And I will say there's 100 cat shines to find. I found 50 and did a battle with Bowser and then credits rolled. And so that's about it, I guess. You could end it there, but there's like another 50 cat shines to find. And it's one of those things where like you collect some of the cat shines from one area, then you leave that area, and when you come back, like the area has changed slightly and there's some more to find. So they kind of reuse some of the space in interesting ways. I thought that was pretty cool too.
What's this Olija. Is that that Netflix movie with Tilda Swinton in it?
You haven't heard of Aaliyah?
No, I'm completely unaware.
So Aaliyah, I actually think this game is up your alley. I'm playing it on Switch, and it is a 2D side-scrolling pixel art game where you play as a character who I think was like a fisherman, but he has this harpoon thing that he uses as like his primary melee weapon, but he can also throw it and recall it. And when he throws it and it like gets stuck in something, when you hit the recall button, instead of the harpoon coming back to him, he will sort of go horizontally or vertically across the screen to show up where the harpoon had gotten stuck. And so you can sort of use it in interesting ways to sort of find new areas of the map, but also you can use it just in interesting ways during combat. So I'm enjoying it so far. I'm not super far into it, but I just know the guy from MinMax, Ben Hansen, I don't know why his name was blanking for a second, but he said it's his favorite game of 2021 so far.
Really?
So definitely worth checking out. I'm enjoying it.
I like this art style.
Yeah, it's very retro inspired, but I need to play more of it.
I will add this to the list of games I'm considering playing. What's this, Persona 5 Strikers? Is this a soccer game?
It does sound like that. No, it's, I forget the name of the developer of those, but like Hyrule Warriors, like that style
like
of game.
A Dynasty Warrior type thing?
Yeah, so it's supposed to be sort of made in that style, but most people are like, it's not really. It's actually more... It's less like, here's like 10,000 enemies that you're fighting all at once, and you just sort of have a character who does these crazy melee abilities. And it's supposed to be a little bit more, at least for that developer or that style of game, a little bit more true to the actual source material that it's working with. And interestingly, most people are saying that it is essentially a direct sequel to Persona 5. So I actually really want to play it because, one, I think it will sort of get rid of the turn-based combat, and it does more of an action combat. But yeah, I loved Persona 5. So if this is just sort of taking that story and moving further forward with it, I kind of want to find out how they do that. So I didn't buy it yet. I'm not playing it yet, but I really want to. It did come out this weekend, so I will probably try diving into that at some point this week. I don't have, since I don't have any experience with it yet, I don't know if I can say much more about it, but super into it. I think Persona 5 and Persona 5 Royal were exclusive to PlayStation. Persona 5 Strikers is on Switch and PC as well. So, weird thing, but maybe Persona games will start coming out on other platforms as well.
That would be great.
I would like to get Persona 5 on Switch, but I guess I'll settle for Persona 5 Strikers. But why don't you tell me about Stardew Valley?
Right as Super Mario 3D World plus Bowser's Fury was coming out, they finally dropped the Switch version of Stardew Valley 1.5, which adds a ton of stuff. And I haven't played Stardew Valley since it came out, so they've been adding stuff like prior to the 1.5. One of the big things they released, though, on Switch for 1.5 was local split-screen co-op. So my girlfriend and I started a new farm, and we're just sitting on the couch, both playing split screen, and it's been great. And we've basically been doing that every night. So we haven't had any time for like Super Mario or anything. And I got so into it. She's gone today, but I woke up this morning and I was like, man, I have this on PC still. So I booted up the game, and I'm doing a single player farm with the 1.5 update on my computer. And man, this game Stardew Valley is great. It's still really good.
Yeah, I haven't played it in a long time, but I really liked it.
There's like a whole post game now where you can go to an entirely different island and like set up a resort, I think, and have like a different home on a different island.
Really? That's interesting.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. Yeah, I've been loving it. They added a ton of stuff, new NPCs, new events, new things to like new what's it called? Harvestable things, new animals, new things that happen in the mines, a whole new island. Like it's a huge update. And it's great to play on Switch side by side. There are some technical difficulties. I think there is a little bit of a delay sometimes when the person playing on Joy-Con is playing, and maybe it's just the Joy-Cons, I don't know. But like I usually give my girlfriend the Pro Controller and I'll play with the Joy-Cons, and every once in a while it'll like lag for a second on my controls. And also like if I'm chopping down a tree and it explodes into a bunch of wood, sometimes it'll like graphically lag. But those are few and far between, and it's something I'm really enjoying. I love Stardew Valley, and I forgot how much I liked it.
Yeah, I haven't played since I think it initially came out on Switch, or maybe I was playing on PC. I don't remember. I know I started playing it around the time it came out on Switch, and yeah, I really liked it, but I have not played it since then. I know there's been like a ton of updates.
Yeah. It's great if you just like. It's a great podcast game.
Yeah.
But I don't know how long. I've never gotten to the third year in one of my playthroughs because I've just like fallen off or hit a wall or just something else started happening. So I don't know how long I'm going to play, but right now I'm loving it and I'm playing all the time.
Yeah, it takes a long time to get there, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. It takes a while, especially when you're used to other games where you get like instant gratification. But other thing I wanted to quickly talk about, because I know we're running long, is we talked about it briefly in the beginning. WandaVision on Disney Plus is really good.
Oh yeah, you watched the whole thing?
Yeah, I mean it's still ongoing, and this week's episode was a crazy one.
Oh, I thought it was
revealed
done.
A bunch of stuff. No, it's gonna go until I think like 2 more weeks, and there's gonna be a week break, and then the like Captain America Falcon show is going to start. Winter Soldier Falcon show is going to start, and that's going to go for like 8 or 10 weeks. And then I think there's another break, and then the Loki show starts. So it's just like Disney Plus is going crazy now.
Constant Avengers stuff happening, huh?
It's true. But yeah, I don't want to say too much about it because like every episode has some good twists and turns in it. But if you ever get Disney Plus, definitely check it out.
Good advice. Speaking of advice, do you have any parting wisdom?
Zach, I own a cat now.
Oh, really?
It's true. A couple of years ago, my girlfriend's parents own like a farm, basically. Not like to make crops or whatever, but just to live on in the country. And a litter of kittens just appeared in their barn one day. And so they brought them into the house and they started caring for them. And now her mom just has these 4 cats, and so I was like, let's take one of them. Let's have one of these cats. And so I took a calico cat named Moose, and now it has been living with me for a week.
I think I did see on your Instagram, so I kind of already knew that you had a cat, but that's exciting that you have a cat now.
It's been a great time. I love having a cat. It's great to have a cat. Everybody should have an animal at some point. It's a de-stressor. It's nice to get home from work, and it hasn't gotten to the point where it started to cuddle with me yet, but it's getting more and more comfortable every day of being in our home. And yeah, it's great. Everything's cool about this cat, I have to say.
Have you owned a cat before?
It's a very chill cat. When I was a very young child, I had a cat, and then I had a dog, and then I had another cat. And then I haven't owned an animal basically since I lived in Texas, so like 12, 13 years maybe? Longer than that, because I didn't have one in high school, or in college either, so it's been a very long time.
Yeah, I've always wanted a dog, but
I also thought I always wanted a dog, but it is very relaxing to have a cat. It's very low energy, and you don't always have to, like, if I want to play Stardew Valley for 3 hours, I don't have to, like, worry about a dog who needs attention.
Yeah, or you gotta, like, take them out so they can go to the bathroom, and then you gotta take them for a walk, and then you gotta do all that stuff.
Especially in the snow.
Yeah. It has been snowing. I guess it looks like it's slowing down, but it was snowing a ton earlier today.
It started here right as we started recording, and it has basically become a thin blanket now. It's supposed to happen all night, which I'm not looking forward to, but
yeah, it started collecting almost immediately when it started snowing today. So
the Midwest. Yeah,
that's how it goes. I was hoping spring was close because it seemed like it was warming up, but we're back to
it's going to be great.
Snow.
Just like give it 2 months and it's going to be like t-shirt weather. We're going to be walking around in sandals. It's going to be great. And then it'll be summer and it's just going to be up from there.
Just think about that time. And when we get there, E3 or something akin to that may happen.
We will be there. We'll be boots on the ground at E3.
Virtually.
Virtual
boots on the ground.
Because it'll be a virtual event.
Yeah, I know. But look forward to that.
Yeah, thank you for joining us on this edition of Starside Chat.
Yeah, and we'll catch you on the next one.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.